Friday. I'm a cop.
With his close-cropped haircut and his monotone voice, Dragnet's Sergeant Joe Friday looked like the ultimate 50s square. But the man who created him became one of the most celebrated moguls in television history and a major influence on TV moguls of today.
The DNA of Dragnet is in Law & Order. It's the story, it's the crime. It's very clean.
By the time he was 35, Jack Webb had done it all. As a writer, producer, director, and actor for his Mark VII production company, Webb had won 3 Emmys for Dragnet and was on the cover of Time.
Jack was an icon, and Jack was one of those kind of people that he was larger than life.
Webb was riding high in the 50s, but by the early 60s, the man who created one of the biggest hits in television history was looking for hits anywhere he could find them. In 1962, Webb produced and hosted a CBS series called General Electric True, based on non-fiction stories from the pages of True magazine.
For a brief moment of history, an absolute dictator of an entire nation.
I think he wanted to be closely attached to things that were more real instead of fantasy. He wanted to portray what he felt was real life. That was his reality.
While G.E. True garnered good reviews, it was not the hit its creator was looking for. Part of the problem was that Webb was relying on the formula that had made him a star.
I'm afraid I want to lean more in the direction of Dragnet to some degree, but perhaps more factual.
Dragnet had made Webb a wealthy man, and though he didn't always live like a TV mogul, by 1963, Webb had spent most of his half of the $5 million that MCA had paid for Dragnet on back taxes, divorce settlements, and television projects that hadn't panned out. His Mark VII production company was in the red, so Webb did what independent producers do when their money runs out. He took a studio job as the head of production at Warner Brothers Television for $3,000 a week. One of his first assignments, to boost the ratings of 77 Sunset Strip, the hip Private Eye series which had been a huge hit for Warner Brothers. Webb stunned everyone on 77 Sunset Strip when he fired all the regulars on the series except for Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. 77 Sunset Strip was canceled at the end of the season, and not long after, Jack Warner fired Jack Webb as head of television production for Warner Brothers.
It was a fate not made in heaven, and after a short time, he couldn't handle it.
Webb did get a small measure of revenge. He sued Warner Brothers and won $250,000 in severance pay. But Webb was out of work. The man who had created the most famous cop show on television had plenty of time to reflect on his legendary career. Jack Webb first made Dragnet a hit back in 1949 when he got the idea for a new kind of police drama based on actual cases from LAPD files.
It's an overnight smash. Very, very good press.
By 1951, Dragnet was a top 10 show on radio and television. Webb had enormous power in Hollywood, and he used it to become the series' production czar.
I always had a great desire to be in the production side, much more so than in the acting end of things.
To overcome the small screen size of TV sets of the time, Webb pioneered using a series of quick close-up shots between actors.
The ping-pong dialogue that we used in Dragnet was so, in the small television sets at that time, they were only about 5 inches wide, and you couldn't see 3 people and a master. So he'd break up the sentences.
Never fails, does it? What do you mean?
The oldest line in the world, and they still go for it.
Yeah, what's that?
Tell them you're going to get them in the movies.
The result was real-life, rapid-fire dialogue and a production pace that matched it.
He just did it, that's all. He was in complete charge, so he could go as fast or as slow as he wanted, and mostly it was fast.
Dragnet became the highest-rated police drama in broadcast history. But while Webb's career skyrocketed, his marriage to actress Julie London fell apart. Even with his third wife, Jackie Lockery, Webb still couldn't stay away from work. This time he had their apartment built right on the studio lot.
Jack, why do you live on the lot?
Living here has been so convenient for me, and then, you know, I'm afraid it's no secret that I've put in a great many long hours particularly in the early days of my television attempt. I used to spend from 12 to 18 hours a day, and now I've managed to cut it down to a very modest 10 to 12 hour day.
By 1959, Dragnet was off the air. After the disaster at Warner Brothers, Webb's career was floundering. But by 1966, his biggest hit put him back in production when Universal asked Webb to produce a TV movie based upon his 50s series. Dragnet, the TV movie, was a big hit. With his new partner, Harry Morgan, Joe Friday was back on the job in the 60s version of the series. But the political climate in America had changed since Dragnet first aired on television in the 50s. And when Jack Webb brought his series back to TV, Dragnet took direct aim at the 60s counterculture.
This lid was on the drain board.
Did my father think on us again?
Where's your daughter?
I don't know. She was with Jane.
Don't you people know where your baby is?
Jane? Where's Robin? Robbie. Where's little Robbie?
Robin! Robin!
That's a little like, Jack, you're going a little far here, aren't you? But, you know, he said, no, this is the way it is, Pally. Okay.
Although Webb's return to Dragnet was not the smash hit he'd been hoping for, he parlayed its success into another series, Adam 12, about the day-to-day work of an LAPD mobile unit.
Where do you want to go? Eddie's, I guess. Humpty Dumpty's pretty nice, too. Okay, Humpty Dumpty. Unless you want to go to Eddie's. Well, both about the same. Eddie's a little closer.
One Adam 12, we're under fire. 11's at Wellborn. Officers need help.
No one thought we could do a show with the two cops in a car.
Adam 12 got poor ratings its first year, but NBC stuck with the series, which, like Dragnet, was based on cases from LAPD files.
He was all for authenticity, and that was what made it. And the cops knew it, and I think that subconsciously so did the public.
Adam 12 climbed into the top 10 shows for the next 4 years and kept Webb's Mark 7 production company solvent. But even that wasn't good enough for Jack.
He was saying, you know, I know you think it's good what you're doing, but it's terrible, and the writers have got to spend more time in police cars, and it's got to get more reality. And he says, because you guys are all stealing your money.
Webb's next series for NBC, Emergency, was about an LAPD fire department rescue unit and starred his ex-wife, Julie London. But in 1977, Webb's final series went off the air.
He didn't have any shows. It was kind of sad toward the end there that his style had sort of gone out.
Yet more than half a century after Webb first made television history as Sergeant Joe Friday, the legacy of his landmark series lives on. Dragnet changed the way police stories are told on TV.
The model was some aspect of Dragnet, where you go out there, you catch a case, you track a guy, you catch him, you arrest him, end of story. Just the facts, man.
He set out to do something, and he did it. And he did it his way.